Hi, everybody. I'm here to talk to you about the book called The Women by Kristen Hanna. And this is a 5-star read that I just finished a little while ago. It releases on Tuesday, February 6th. This is a very emotional book, so if you decide to read it, be prepared for that. It deals with the Vietnam War, both the war itself and the aftermath of it. There is a lot of trauma, there is a lot of loss, there is a lot of PTSD. So please be aware of those things. But having said that, this is an incredibly important book. I would consider this essential reading for everybody. It covers about 15 years, and we mostly follow a young nursing student named Frankie McGrath. It starts with her attending a goodbye party for her brother Finley, who is headed off to fight. And it ends 15 years later with the ceremony to commemorate the building of the Vietnam War Memorial in Washington, D.C. Now, we've all heard about the stigma that followed around the vets who returned from Vietnam, but one of the forgotten elements is the women that were there serving as nurses, and that is what this book focuses on. The first half of the book is Frankie's experience in Vietnam, and it is pretty harrowing, but not graphic to the point of absolute repulsion. She starts off as a very new nurse and she ends as a very seasoned veteran. Now, again, I don't want to give too much detail because this is a book that you really need to experience on your own. But one of the things that's very important that we learn in this book is that different people who were in Vietnam came home to different types of a welcome when they were done with their service. And we see the different welcome mainly for the combat soldiers, the POWs, and the nurses. And we also see the power of the media and how their reporting of the war skewed the attitudes and the views back home here in the States towards those that were overseas. I have found myself thinking about people that I know that were there. I have an uncle, I have a coworker, I have 2 older neighbors that live across the street, and none of them are women. And that is why this book is so important, because the women's story needs to be told too. It's not a happy plot, but it is hopeful. And again, like I said, it's important. We cannot forget history, and we can't forget those who did their best, because that's all they were doing, was doing their best. I was thinking a lot about the TV show MASH, which I know is about Korea, but the themes are so similar. And I was thinking about this one line that Hawkeye says in response to somebody saying that war is hell. And he says, no, war is war and hell is hell. And between the two, war is a lot worse. You really see the truth of that in this book. There is a lot of sadness and anger and shame and confusion and lingering questions about how we can do better as a government, as a society, for those that put so much on the line for freedom and for other people. I hope that you will read this book. I am happy to talk about it in more depth with anyone who has read it, because it really does stir up a lot of emotion. And if you've made it this far, I'm going to end with a few pictures. In 1989, when I was a senior in high school, so I've just dated myself, I had the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. for 4 days for a music competition. While I was there, we got to visit the Vietnam War Memorial. I did not realize at the time that it was only 7 years old, but I still remember how affected I was being there in person. I did not know any of the names that were on it, but the atmosphere was one that was so solemn and quiet and sad. And even all these years later, I've never forgotten it. So thank you for making it this far. Please read this book, and I will just share these 6 pictures with you and read the captions. The captions are those that I wrote at that time, so I was feeling very strongly even at age 18. This is picture one, and my caption says, "The Vietnam War Memorial, one of the most incredible sights I could ever hope to see." Picture two, my caption says, "A man etches the name of a fallen loved one." Picture three, on a piece of child's school paper, a letter is addressed to all visitors requesting information about a certain soldier's personal effects. Picture four, at the end of the memorial, tears, silence, and solemn looks were in abundance. I didn't know one person, and I still couldn't help crying. Picture five, the Vietnam War Memorial. Everyone was so quiet. The only sounds were tearful whispers. Flowers were everywhere. And the last one, number six, a statue near the memorial honoring the men involved in the Vietnam War. Now, this takes on new significance now that I've read the book because there is also a statue near the memorial that commemorates the women, the nurses. And I did not take a picture of that because at the time, I didn't realize their importance. I do now, not only their importance, but how long it took them to be recognized. Thanks again for hanging in there. Read this book and have a great night.